kinda want to disappear with you, but I don't think that is what I would usually do. You know, it's just like I felt the heat the moment he pressed his lips up against mine. Don't wanna this whole thing out like I do every time. Fire is burning through this silence. I can't take it, can't control this flame we started. You know I'm fire in my heart, yeah. In the quiet, all my thoughts run free. So I drown them out at night with my TV. You know I got to try to ignore these thoughts that go back and forth inside my head. Should stop before I'm in too deep and I can't go back. Fire is burning through this silence. I can't take it, can't control this flame we started. You know I'm fire in my heart, yeah. Fire is burning through this silence. I can't take it, can't control this flame we started. You know I'm fire in my heart, yeah.
So dark and cold-hearted, I'm breathless to say the least. So far from a superstar, and my daydreams are killing me. Feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm never feeling okay. Good days are so hard to find. Just help me numb all the pain. I'm only one step from dying. My angels keep it at bay. Can't blame the people for trying. Just let me fall to my grave. Just let me fall to my grave. Look you. Just let me fall to my Just let me fall to my grave. Heart fails under pressure. Wonder if these bad days will last forever. So pessimistic from the past. All the good things end up in caskets. I'm never feeling okay. Good days are so hard to find. let me fall to my grave. Just let me fall to my grave. To kill it. And I'm losing my mind at the start. To kill it. Just let me fall to my grave. To kill it. And I'm losing my mind at the start. To kill it. Just let me fall to my grave.
Find you. I'm used to waiting. Are you? Would you be with on my last straw. I'm broken and I've woken up. I'm done feeding your lies. I've had enough. I can't run your place in this faulty game. No. And all the words you speak mean nothing more to me. 'Cause let's start over now. Rewind. And I won't let you go. I need you by my
Never felt so alive in my life. 'Cause you make me come to life every time I'm free. Oh, and I'm loving all that you do. Can't you see that I'm crashing right into you? Right into you, I'm free. Oh, and I'm loving all that you do. Can't you see that I'm crashing right into you? Yeah, I'm free falling. Can you hear me calling, calling for you? Yeah, I'm free falling. I'ma keep on falling, falling for you.
Okay. It finally works. It's astonishing at this point the amount of time nothing ever works. I'm seriously running out of ideas because every time something has to constantly don't work, from Steam to the entire game to my S control is not working again. At this point, is it a curse? Is this by any chance a curse or anything else? But anyway, welcome to Sparfagon Champs. Apologies for having basically skipped the entirety of qualifying, but Steam decided that an update at 8:50 o'clock was mandatory for my existence, so I couldn't provide you with a qualifying session. Not really sure the reason, but guess that happened. The moment the time is at 2:15.557, and in this occasion, since the DLC came out recently, we have some changes in the BOP, obviously, as the default BOP has been completely overhauled from top to bottom with a few amount of changes. You do see coming out. They came out a couple of days ago with the GT3 cars and the Red Bull Ring. But for now we're sticking with the normal calendar, and I suspect the default kind of BOP. So at this point there is an entire field of Porsches that are one after the other in the mid pack, and one that is actually topping the qualifying session. Here it is, the Portuguese driver that is driving the number 80, and for now he is in pole position, 2 times ahead of a very quick Terence Keenan that is actually improving himself at the moment. 23 are the drivers currently on board in this race. At the moment the Lamborghini driver here is on a verge to make an improvement, but an improvement has been made, nevertheless, by Nunes himself, as in the last lap made 15.465. At this point, Keenan's improvement of slightly shorter than 2 times is going to be completely useless by the end of the lap, since Nopek and Garvey are already with their qualifying being over, and practically everybody else with just a few improvements in the field. So unless he can find that 10th that he is missing completely, I think it's going to be over for the entire qualifying session. Which again, apologies that it has been skipped abruptly, but again, problems with the update, Steam, the game literally not opening for 5 minutes, and this is sometimes technical issues happen. It's going to be a bit of an improvement for the Irish driver. It's going to be 2 tenths, but that's definitely not 3. In fact, he improves, he just goes a tenth and a half slower than Nunes, but it's not going to be enough to make a better situation in his starting position. It's going to be the same for Gallo, as the Spaniard is going to end this lap with his 14th place, without an improvement in his lap, and the 444 goes over the line and completes the qualifying session. But here we are with the number 80. Just need to do this. Okay, apparently we not. Okay, I cannot. Great. I love it. Sometimes I really love it. When things don't work. Beautiful. Anyway, we're going to start the race here with Nunes in the number 80. He's going to start the 60-minute race as Spa-Francorchamps, as you can see. A minute and a half until the formation lap starts. Are the FPS good at the very least? Kind of. My CPU is struggling. Not sure why. I know the reason, but I suspect it's something to do with the thermal paste. Anyway, Nunes is going to start the race in position number 1 with Terence Keenan alongside the Portuguese driver in a 78 Lamborghini. Then Nopek is just behind in a 48 BMW, and the Garvey is in 4th place in the McLaren with the yellow colors. Giovannini and Canton are the 2 Ferraris behind them, and out of the 4, they are the only ones in the top 20, in the top 15. Wegman and Eck are going to be the Mercedes and the Lamborghini behind, with Ulrich and not completing your top 10 for this race here. Alves and Zachtal are in 6th row, with Alves and Gallo being the followers, with a river of Porsches, with Caddy, Brucker and Sanchez completing the flow of the German brand from Stuttgart. And okay, I thought it was on the old version of the 992. Gamov starts in 18th place in the number 23. Oh wait, I can do this finally. In 18th place with Sims and Robinson completing your top 20, and then at the very tail end of the grid it's going to be Corso, Canaveira and Anderson in 24th place. As we go with a lap in Spa-Francorchamps, I don't even need the track map here because I practically know it by memory. Actually, basically everyone knows it by memory. Here is the most famous part of the circuit, Lyon, uphill section, nearly flat out in race, actually flat out in qualifying. You don't want to cut it too much, otherwise the track limit, and you also don't want to go too much wide, otherwise, well, you know the drill. And then it's an eternal straight, which is actually uphill, so it's not here that you reach the best. Okay, that's a way to overheat your engine. This uphill section here doesn't actually bring you to your top speed. It's actually the Blanchimont section that does so. But here we are into Le Combe. I'm not understanding why he is keeping it in first gear, since doing the same in sixth will do the same trick, but actually would have less fuel to be used. Anyway, Le Combe here, it's a right, left and right. You really want to stay on the inside after the second one, since you want to have the perfect outcome out of turn number 3 of Le Combe. And then it's Bruxelles, it's a hairpin, it's a downhill hairpin, so actually very hard to manage. And you try to just touch the curb on inside and you aim for the outside one as much as possible. Then you go back to the inside, to the outside one, you basically brake on the curb, you cut into the inside, you don't touch the inside curb though, and you go as much outside as possible into no-name. And then we have the best part of the circuit. It's actually, in my opinion, better than Lyon, which is Buhon, because this line here is essential, because you can gain up to half a second in just this section here. You basically brake just when the curb is ending, you try to go on the inside, you aim for the outside, and then back into the inside. It's a never-ending left-hander that is mandatory to be made in 4th gear. You go over there, and then you can see here the billboard. That billboard there is your braking marker for Campus. The right-hander here. Right and left, to be fair. In this section here, wasn't it Hamilton, maybe, that crashed in qualifying? Anyway, then it's another right-hander, this time it's Stavel. You really want to use this part here because it's essential to have a perfect exit. You utilize the entirety of the Assetto from the outside, and then you cut into the inside flat out. Not even a lift off. If you lift off, you actually go slow. That's mandatory. That's practically the outcome if you lift off here. And then it's a straight for a very short amount of time, since it's right-hander, which I will not pronounce because I don't know French. And here it is Blanchimont, the left-hander, that in the entirety of the Spa-Francorchamps history has seen many drivers actually go wide and into the barriers. I remember in a 24-hour Spa around 3 years ago into the night that a car actually went completely practically straight forward into the barriers, and it was a yellow flag that lasted for 1,000 years more or less. And here it is the bus stop chicane, right and left. You brake on the 110 marker as late as possible, but also one of the most wanted places to make a place. You go into the pits into the right, we go left. And actually here we will not start the race because the actual start point is after La Source, which is turn number 1, because the finish line is here, but the starting line is over there. Luckily there isn't a temperature level in this game, otherwise the Boxer engine would have blown by this point. But here we are into Le Combe. I'm back into 60 FPS, so expect something was wrong earlier on, but still my CPU is dying, so yes, I definitely think the thermic pass is over. Anyway, here we are for round number 2, into the starting point. We go into the helicam just to be safer over there. And it's already a drive-through for the leader, and Sanchez out of position at the very start of the race, so they will go into the pits and they will lose the entirety of their spot in qualifying. It's actually Keenan now into the lead of the race. Not physically, but virtually into the lead. There aren't any yellow flag, so everything seems to be smooth and without any incident at the moment. Keenan actually takes the place, and Nunes will not try to defend that much, very likely. He actually stays on the inside. He defends anyway, even if the drive-through will happen. But Nopek is just behind, maybe thinking about something that can happen. So we go into Nunes' wing. You can see the Ferrari there of the Italian going extremely wide, trying an overtake that couldn't happen. The Lamborghini, oh, there is a bit of a touch between the two drivers there, and Nunes actually goes into the inside and takes the place. Another contact between the two drivers. The Lamborghini of Keenan goes on the outside of no name. It's actually a nearly free wide situation into Pujon, and the left-hander is going to have the Irishman on the outside and the Portuguese on the inside. It's going to be the outsider that makes the place into the lead of the race. Another contact between two. Clearly Keenan frustrated with the fact that Nunes doesn't want to leave the place. It's actually extremely wide for the Portuguese driver that loses 1-2 places, and Garbi goes into the outside. It's actually the Italian that loses another place on the Mercedes. Oh, another contact! Sparks flying by, and it's actually Nunes into the... Oh, there is a major one, and this is a Ferrari out for a spin for a moment. There is a Ferrari there. It's a white Ferrari of Canton that goes too much wide, and Gallo takes the place on the Ferrari, but actually loses the place on Nunes that goes back into 12th place. Anyway, he will have a drive to another free wide situation. It becomes a 2 for Canton and Brooker side by side, and then becomes a single file section there with the 336 that actually takes the place on the Lamborghini number 23. And we have here Ulrich on the outside that gets overtaken by the Lambo number 51, and as a matter of fact, he keeps the place. It's actually Benjamin Eck in number 51 Lamborghini that is into the inside of La Source and takes the place number 6 with a BMW driver that has to remain behind. The Nunes are still out. Not really sure at this point what's his plan. We will go through the replay after. Bengalo. Oh, he loses the place on Brooke that makes the place into Rouge. For a fraction of a moment, then it's going to be free wide. And the Ferrari of Canton takes the place number 13, with Gallo losing the place and Brooker doing the same. They are still side by side. Into Lecombe. And Brooker actually is the one losing the place anyway, with Gallo keeping the 14th place for a brief moment. And for the remainder of Lecombe. It's going to be Zakdal, the next one online, to maybe try to clinch another placement. But more importantly, behind is the other Lamborghini, is on the Porsche of Alves, Nunes' teammate. I doubt he will leave the place to his teammate, since the 80 has a drive-through to go through. Apologies for the wordplay. Bit too much wide for Zakdal there. For now he keeps the place, and actually he may be the one to make the overtake on Alves in the number 80. For the moment there is a bit of a sandwich situation there, but actually also Garbi that takes the place here in 4th place. It remains the same here for now. There is not on the outside, that's for 5th place, as Benjamin Eck goes into the position, and there is also the overtake just behind, as you can see there, with Zakdal that takes the place on Alves. On one of the two Alves. I know it's a stupid joke, but the two Alves make a fool. Haha. Funny joke. Anyway. So, Alexander Alves is now in front of Nuno Alves, number 87, and Brooker is still not happy with his situation. trying to get another spot on the grid. Ooh, on the outside is pretty difficult into Lecombe. It won't happen there. It still doesn't happen, but there is a better line for the number 166 and a worse one for Gallo. But there isn't enough space for Brooker, and the Spaniards will stay in front in position number 14. And they're going to situation. Okay, no, not yet. I wanted to go back to the replays to understand what happened just here. Oh, the number 80 is not anymore into the race. So we're down to 21, to 20. I can't remember the numbers in English. How? Damn, 21. That's the number I wanted to say 10 seconds ago. 21 drivers. For now, not stays in front. This is the Porsche driver. Takes the inside line as the Ferrari goes on the outside. Is a bit very late, braking way too much late. As you can see, he goes nearly out of track, but actually gains the place on the BMW driver. And Giovannini goes into 7th, with Ulrich getting taken by surprise, very likely. And losing the place on the Italian driver, that also may be useful for Zagdal, as he probably wants to make another place. Brooker still fighting with the yellow Porsche. Into Rouge, they go side by side, just one of the two can prevail, with Gallo taking a different line through there, and there is a crash behind into Rouge. I'm seeing the 42 and the 888 show yellow flags, but for now, Brooker takes the place over Gallo. With Gallo braking slightly earlier. And that's another placement for Brooker in 13th place. Oh, losing the rear twice. So there can still be a chance for the Spanish driver. It's actually the Bentley driver that goes through, and Corsa is now in 14th place. With the brick coming back from the dead and actually making progresses, with Corsa now in 14th place and Gallo getting taken by surprise, and another place being lost by the Spanish driver now in 15th. He was 13th at the very beginning of the lap, and not here. Is still struggling with the pace, with Giovannini behind, that is very keen to try to take a place. This is the worst place for not to have an opponent, since this part is extremely quick and very, very good for whoever stays behind. We know that the Ferrari is extremely good into the brakes and the braking points, so it shouldn't be a surprise if something happens here in the bus stop. It actually doesn't happen. Still gets very, very close to the rear end of the Porsche, and two in front. Yes, that's exactly behind. My brain tonight is in another shelf. I can't remember the number or what's the difference between front and the back, but whatever. And for now, the situation remains quite calm. That statement will be completely demolished in around 40 seconds, quite likely. Don't know if Alps can make it happen. Into the combo, oh, he literally launches the car, he goes literally sideways into the grass and cuts the combo. He loses the place on his teammate, and the Ferrari driver also goes through, and Canton takes it by advantage into Bruxelles. There is a better line for the Ferrari driver, but the Porsche is definitely good on the brakes. And into no name is going to be canted on the outside, and the 08 can still remain in front. He has lost the place on his teammate with Nuno Alves in front of Alexander. I still don't know if they are brothers or cousins or just a coincidence. I still dream of a dead son duo, one day or another, or dead daughter or mother even. Like, that would be phenomenal to be seen. Maybe even in an endurance race. That would be peak. Anyway, here the situation is still stable. But Garby here in the McLaren 221. He is going to go into the inside. For now, with the blinker on for Wegman. Not really sure the reason there. Joining on the outside. He tries something very, very difficult. And as a matter of fact, nothing really happened there. While for Gallo, the situation is the same script. Unfortunately, he tries the position. He actually gets shoved by the 336 BMW. He takes the place. Oh, it's a free wide over the finish line. Actually, just the finish line, to be fair. And into Lassos is going to be free wide with the BMW on the inside and the Porsche on the outside. And the Spanish driver on the other Porsche in the middle. It's going to be the 336 that takes the place for now. With Canaveira and Sims following. There is a slight contact between the two. And Canaveira can really use it to his advantage. It actually seems that can go through the Portuguese driver. But as a matter of fact, nothing really happened there. So we can go through a couple of incidents that happened throughout the race. I wanted to go with the number 28. With a contact that happened there. Okay, maybe not now. Not really. The moment. Maybe later. I think now is later. So this is what happened to the number 28, now in 7th place. With number 31, as you can see, there was a bit of a situation there with a contact from behind. This was the Lamborghini driver that collided with the Ferrari and also gets sent back into a normal way. We can also see it from here, the mess that happened. The following, you can see the Ferrari on the outside. Now in the very pack that we were seeing, that we were watching. Bit of a mess that happened there among the drivers. Luckily, without too many consequences. Speaking of Zaktal, he goes on the outside of the 41 and actually takes the place. Oh, there is a bit of a door-to-door and actually takes the place. I'm actually surprised by that. I wouldn't have thought, but there is a better exit from Ulrich. He goes on the inside of Lassours. And as you can see, the number 41 is still on top in 8th place with Nuno Alves that now is getting very, very interested about this. Sparks flying by. With the number 331 extremely close to the car in front. Not even close, now it's alongside. Just one will prevail into Lecombe. With Ulrich that stays into the inside, but unfortunately becomes the outside, and I really think there is not going to be another chance for Ulrich. In fact, he loses the place on the Aston Martin in front. And just for a moment there was a chance that the Porsche behind could have made the very same on Martin Ulrich. Oh, extremely wide internal name. As you can see, the Aston in front is already taking some gap. Here is the very same script as earlier, but this time not. Is having some more troubles with the Italian behind, extremely close to the car in front. Now this another time that the Ferrari driver had to slow down a bit, and that bit unfortunately is going to be massive for Giovannini's plans. In fact, he lost the opportunity that he had. Now he's going to have another time behind the 992 in purple and lime colors. Although it's quite clear that Ferrari is very much on a good level compared to Liam Not in the number 16, now in 6th place. Oh, he just changed the idea at the very last moment, way too late, and in fact he goes sideways, and for a moment there was an absolute zero chance to recover. He still did it, but that cost a second and a half on behalf of Not, and that second and a half was exactly the gap that existed prior to that between himself and Zakdal. Now there was some defense action taking place at the very last second. Oops. So now there is a second and a half between Giovannini and Not. And Zakdal could utilize the 296 in front as a tow to get better in front and to get closer to the 6th place. Even if in a bus stop, I don't think nothing will happen, considering the Aston Martin isn't as good as the 296 into the braking points. And definitely nothing from the BMW either. But here we go, slightly more in front as Wegman, Garby and Eck can all make an appearance in the overtake situation. Into the Camel Straight, the longest straight that we have on the track. It's going to be an idea from the Swedish driver behind, but nothing concrete. Something definitely happens here with Zakdal goes on the outside, takes an extreme use of the Assetto on the outside. On the inside, apologies, and nearly gets overtaken by Ulrich too, but he remains behind. And in all of these, the two halves are taking advantage of the scenario. Giovannini that for a moment had a bit of a slowdown compared to the usual. Last lap was a 19.2 for, well, obvious reasons. But in the last sectors, the time hasn't been there completely. A bit of a mention on Ek, that is now becoming very dangerous to the car in front, and in the last lap there was also a 3/10 gain on behalf of Ek. And here it is the same exact script as earlier, but this time it's going to be the 331 on the outside and not the 28. It takes a different route and goes into the pits by an extreme chunk of margin compared to the usual. The massive undercut, 10 minutes prior to the very half of the race, leaving Zagdal without a toe. For the reminder of the stint. A bit of a different tactic from the Italian driver in the number 28. The 444 here is still battling with Corso, and this time the position has been done by the Spanish driver. The Bentley behind it was thinking about a comeback, but that very comeback didn't happen in the Camel Straight, but may happen here in Lacombe. It could happen, but the fact it didn't. So we'll stay in this little train for now 7th place. It was for 7th even earlier, to be fair, just now one of the contenders is into the pits. An extreme amount of time for Giovannini into the pits. That's because he also repaired the car. 10 seconds was the damage to be repaired, which in my mind was not necessary, but I don't know, there was the stutter. It was completely unnecessary. And Davide Canton is still in 11th place. Breaking way too late, nearly making contact with the car in front, and then to number 8 still keeps the advantage. Oh, that was a bit over the line. No one but Giovannini made the... Wait, was that... That wasn't lag. I think that was an extreme close call. You can see right and then left. Yes, that was extremely close to game over. With Davide Canton sideways into Lecombe and nearly losing everything he did until now. Becker Garbi still pressurizing the car in front. The last lap, Wegman lost an entire half a second on Garbi, a 17.9, with Garbi gaining half a second on the car behind, so I suspect the outsiders were the two around him. 17.4 for Garbi was the last lap. Not the fastest car on track, that still remains Terence Keenan in first place, and Nopek follows behind. That was a bit of a mistake by the number 67. That was an extremely good point to make a pit entrance. But Gabi decides to take the offensive. Takes the outside. And this move actually put the 51 in a bit of an advantage position, with the two drivers that clearly want both to be in front of the other into come. No one of the two will. Oh, there's a contact. Oh, the Mercedes into the wall. Oh, both drivers have been hit. And I can Wegman, major incident. With Wegman completely demolishing the car. You can see the contact from cockpit view cam. Oh. Yep. That was the end for both drivers. Quite sure about that. With the 51 that is somehow still continuing. I don't want to see this one here. You can see from the outside contact between the two, and then the 67 going straight back into the track. And that was that incident can happen even in real life, and I'll be honest, that gave me the chill. That gave me the chill, because that incident happened in real life. And yeah, sorry. Nothing. I'm not really emotional. Just that I remember seeing it live. So moving on. I'm just laughing out of nervousness. I'll be honest. Moving on. Ulrich goes there for 5th place. And also into the pits with Zagdal. Again, sorry if the pace is slowing down a bit, it's just that... that anyway. I didn't expect myself to act like that. I'll be honest. So, sorry for that, just that... it was extremely similar. For now, Nopek is now in the very lead of the race. Virtually into the lead, but practically I suspect Keenan will be ahead after the dance of the pit stop happens. Suspect Nopek will be the next one to make it into the pits, and Garby will also be the same page, very likely. For both the 67 and the 51's race are probably over, as they will be the tail end of the grid without further ado. Kudos to Ek to actually somehow keeping the car on track, considering the damage that the Lamborghini has, which is terminal, pretty sure. I just hope they took away the hands from the wheel, since if anyone has a direct drive in that moment, you don't have the hands anymore. So Alves actually, with the pit stop dance. He is actually in front since he made the undercut on Zakdal. And that undercut put Alexander Alves in number 8, heavily in front of his opponent. But the same applies to Ulrich, which was behind Zakdal earlier on. And that actually goes to a loss of 2 seconds on behalf of Zakdal into the pits. So I suspect something has to do with the pit entry or the pit exit. Those 2 seconds were fundamental, as now Zakdal lost 2 places in the pit stops. But Alves can gain another place on the very 41 that I was mentioning about seconds ago. Alpha race has been completed with another half remaining. As the number 87 stays out with Nuno Alves keeping the torch enlightened. But clearly out of sync altogether. As Brooker goes out of the pits and gets back into 9th place, soon to become 10th. And I think the same applies on Not, on the very same livery. For T1SR. And also Canabeira lost the place on Robinson after the pits. And Alves is now in the pit lane of the Belgian track, on the extremely lengthy pit lane. So Keenan now has an advantage of a second and bits on Nopek behind. Then Garbi sits 15 seconds later, with Ulrich following another 8, and Alexander Alves just behind with us 2 minutes 17.6 is the last lap, so very good one considering it's his personal best. Alexander is a second and a half behind, with Not following Giovannini and Brooker, with Davide Canton that made a bit of a slow pit stop, losing 3 seconds. But even for him, best personal lap, but better personal best lap actually goes to Giovannini, that made the effective fastest lap of the race so far, 16.712 for the Ferrari driver that gets squeezed on the outside. Why not? This fight has been going on for several ages, and it's quite clear that it's impacting extremely negatively the race of the number 28 in 9th, soon to be 8th place. 8th with obviously a question mark at the end. In fact, in just a single lap he lost a second compared to his pace. 16.7 was the fastest lap of the race, and also his personal best. Alves is now out of the pits, and as you can see, Giovannini and Brooker passed through, and Canton will do the same. So an odd difference between Alves, between Nuno Alves and... Ooh, there is the overtake there happening again! It can't happen! The Italian gets squeezed on the outside, with Not keeping the place number 7. And at this point, Brooker wants to take good use of his teammates' aid. With now 2.5 seconds being created between the Swedish driver and Liam Knott. Oh, that's a bit of a wide line through Pujon. I think this is the better chance for the 28. Oh, there is a contact between the two drivers with the Ferrari now on the outside of Campos. And I think it is. It was the final straw. And Knott has to sit behind and start to defend against his teammate. With Davide Canton following the situation a bit behind. Best lap is now on Terence Keenan's name with a 16.2. Nopek made a 16.6. A 16.9 for Garbi, and the Canton goes on the outside of the bus stop. And a 166 tries to squeeze the 296 as much as possible, and he manages to do so with the 96 that has to stay in 10th place for now. So 16.9 for Garbi, over the 16.8, but with 8 seconds of gap, it's not really a challenge with 20 minutes to go. It's actually Alexander Albs behind him that lost some time, 17.1 for him. Zaktal 17.2 with a 18.5 for Giovannini as of now, but that's because of the overtake that happened. Remember that Giovannini was literally the first one to pit up to 10 minutes prior to the latest one, which is Nuno Alves in 11th place. There is a contact and 166 is off track for a brief moment. Back on his wheels. Another contact between the two, and it's actually Brooke that outbreaks the Italian, and it's going to be the British driver that takes back 9th place. We can have a look at what happened earlier on between the 166 and the 96. Oh, this one was a bit too late, apologies. I knew there were two, but I just took the wrong one. So this was the action that happened with the Ferrari going on inside a bit late. Contact between the two, and the Ferrari driver that actually put back the Porsche in the correct direction. Another personal best for, actually best overall for Nopek. A 16.172 for the Polish driver that now clearly wants to challenge the leader. 16.4 and still not known. 16.8 for Ulrich with Alves behind that set a 17.1, losing some time from Zaktar behind. The 3 times have been lost with a 16.8 from the Swedish driver. Giovannini still can't really manage to cover the gap. 16.9 was the last reading for the Ferrari driver, with Knott behind lapping at 18.1, and Brooker losing massively after the battle with Canton and Alves, all on the same 20 point, very high 20. The sky is darkening and the light is ending as it's 10 o'clock in game 2. You could see how much the Ferrari can brake later. Literally, the 992 had to brake at the same moment as the Ferrari, except that there is around 30 meters of difference between the two cars. That really helps a lot. Behind is Gamov getting the place on Gallo. But it's not over yet as Gallo goes side by side with the Lamborghini driver. On the outside on No Name is still side by side. As we go into Pujon, it's going to be Gallo on the outside that takes the place. Number 12 back. and seems that now may become an adversary for Gamov. It seems Robinson following behind. Interesting situation by Zakdal. He is now 7 tenths behind Alves. So I suspect a mistake by the Portuguese. And clearly a good lap by the Swedish driver. Triple fight here with Gamov that has to defend against Sims, and afraid they can't break 1,000 years later. The situation wasn't completely on favor. Gamov remains in 14th place. As a matter of fact, Zakdal's time wasn't completely on the best side of the coin. It was a 17.0, but it was 8 times quicker than Alp's one. So clearly a mistake by the number 8 in 5th place. I remember that it was the 87 the last to go into the pit lane. So this puts forward the question of how much can it gain from that choice. For now it seems to pay off. 17.4 was the last lap. Kenton made a 17.7, but Brooker made a 17.3. As we go further up into the grid, we can see the situation in 6th place. Zakdal has been gaining massively on behalf of Portuguese driver. Not here though, he lost a bit of time. Meanwhile here Sims is losing the place on Robinson that takes 14th place. As we can go with the replay to understand how it happened. It was into Pujon with a terrible exit by the Ferrari driver. Ooh, a tiny bit of no contact, to be fair, and it was all over before Pujon was over. So Robinson now in 14th place. As we go back here into the cockpit cam, it's another gain for Zakdal, or rather another huge loss for Alves. He lapped at 18.2 seconds away from Ulrich, that made his personal best. 16.6 for BMW driver in 4th place. Oh, Gamov is off, and the 42 is also off. There is a yellow flag showing. Ooh, I think there was a contact. There was definitely a contact here. You can see the BMW into the inside. Oh, there was a contact, and unfortunately 23 was the one being involved, and Sims was a bit innocent over there, with Robinson clearly taking the guilty part, making Gamov spin around, and Sims was unfortunately just there. And Corsa and Canabeira are the one gaining because of that, with both gaining 2 places each. Back in front, the same exact script as earlier on for Tempus Simsport, with Jason behind gaining a massive amount of time. In the very front of the pack, it's extremely close. There is still that second that separates the two, with Nopek that actually made a 16.3 compared to the 16.5 on Keenan. 16.5 for both drivers now. So they are clearly on the same page, chapter and word. Alexander Alves still defending with a Porsche that breaks slightly earlier compared to Dactyl. Of course, also overtakes Robinson here into the bus stop. And he's now side by side. Oh, Giovanni is off! Giovanni is off into the wall. It doesn't go into the wall, but it definitely goes the other way around. And that's going to be quite interesting. We can see the replay of what happened. I wonder if it was a mistake on his own. Oh yeah, it was definitely a mistake. It was not a contact into the wall. But that made him lose everything. He now sits in 11th place, as he was in 7th. Just in front of Gallo. Here nothing really happened, luckily for me. Otherwise I would have missed it. With Corsa that remains in front of Robinson and Canaveira. Canton here is losing some chunk of time to Nuno Alves. As I think the overcut is going in the Porsche's favor. So here nothing changes compared to here with a Bentley that goes over the curb with sparks flying by, and Robinson that clearly takes that as a proposal to try an initiative, but the extremely comically large brick remains there in 13th place. Can't say the same for the situation between the two drivers here, with Alves extremely close to the Ferrari that again goes a bit wider. Out of the slipstream a bit too early. It's actually going to be the Ferrari that goes into the inside. There was a clear choice for Canton, either trying the dive bomb or maintaining the distance. So the second option, the one that has been taken. As there are, I think, a couple of, no, 4 more or less laps to go. 4 to 5 laps to go, depending on when the leader crossed the line. So now 2, 4, 6. Okay, no, definitely 5 laps to go. So not too much time remains on the clock. And Brooker is seeing mayhem behind his mirrors. But for now, that mayhem may help him towards his rush out of sight of the two behind. I think there may be a chance for halves this time around. The gap was very thin going to Rouge. Quite surprisingly, it's now the other way around, with Canton slightly closer to the car in front. Not even closer, but actually on the verge to make an attack. The outside, there was a chance there. It actually becomes the inside. Bit out of line. Contact between the cars with Brooker flashing the light, obviously frustrated by the move, but that was completely into the rule. Very late by Canton and extremely profitable as a way. But unfortunately for him, now Brooker is on the attack just before the Rouge. And Ferrari has to sit behind, following. Ooh, there may be a little bit of... Oh, in fact, as a matter of fact, he loses the rear. And second Ferrari driver that loses completely the rear of the car. He now sits in the middle of the circuit, with Giovanni passing through, and the same goes to Gallo. He's now back on track. But he was absolutely out of line. You can see from the cockpit cam here, he goes on the inside, way too late. He tries to recover, way too late. And goes for a 360 degrees without too many implications for his car, apart from the fact that the tires are now flat. And Corso benefited from this as he gains the place number 12, and Canabera may do the same. That for Gamov for exceeding track limits just 5 minutes before the end of the race. And for now Canabera may be the closest one to make a move in the entirety of the field. Tense situation here for 12th place, but even more, it's actually in the very lead of the race, because Keenan in the last laps he has been losing a couple of temps, and now the gap between Keenan and Nopek is just 7 temps per second, thanks also to the fact that Nopek's last lap was at 16.6 compared to Keenan's 16.7, 80, so around 2 temps of gap. being gained on by Nopek on Keenan. Now Canton's tires are probably back in the normal temperature window, although around 4 places lower than earlier. 5 actually. $16.6 for Keenan, 16.5 for Nopek. But again, a single temp isn't enough, considering there are just a couple of laps remaining. For the now 19 drivers. Now Canton is looking to try to make a move somewhere. Chance just doesn't appear. He can appear, he could appear just now in front of the Bentley's path, just after the Rouge section here that earlier on saw him lose every place possible. Tack limit for Canton too, but at the very end of the race you basically use them as a jolly now rather than warnings. He takes the inside line, but the Bentley brakes a tiny bit later and remains in 12th place. The situation up in front remains the same, with 7 tenths distancing the two front runners. Now 17 seconds clear of Garby. This last reading will be fundamental for the two, and it's an exact 16.4 for both. So unless any particular surprise happens, I don't think there will be any change in the lead of the race. There may be one here for 12th place. Canton extremely close to the British manufactured car, which is actually German, which is actually that's a bit too deep into the hierarchy. The 114. Oh, gets a tap from behind. Bit of help from Canton to get a better exit, and unironically it was a better exit for Corso, not so much for Canton, that now is in danger from Canabera behind. Robinson also follows, and the Gamov is back into the pits, disqualified from the race, so not taking the drive-through into account. I think this is the last chance for Canton into Lecombe, but definitely is the last moments for the race for these two here that maintain the same gap for the entirety of the hour. But it's going to be Terence Keenan that crosses the line in first place as the Irishman completes the hour and finishes the race in first place in Spa-Francorchamps with Nopek following not even a second behind. Garvey will be in third place now into the bus stop with Ulrich another chunk of time behind. Alexander Alves will be in the number 8 in 5th place, with Alex Zakta in the end remained in 6th in his Aston Martin 331. Liam Knott remains in front of his teammate Jay Brooker for T1SR, with Nuno Alves completing the race in 9th place. William Giovannini unfortunately just 10th compared to his performances, with Gallo and now Corso defending against the Ferrari on the outside. It's the very last moment. Oh, there is a contact and the Ferrari is off. Canton is completely off the track in the number 96. It was a very late move and Corso maintains the 12th with Canabeira and Robinson completing the race in 14th and 14th respectively, with Canton back on track in 15th place. For a moment, since Sims actually gains the place on him at the very late moment, and Canton actually completes the race in 15th with Benjamin Eck in 17th as Sanchez completed in 6th. It's not yet over the line, but he completes the race in 16th place. So we can see back what happened towards the very end. This was quite interesting. Oh, there was a bit of a brush between the two drivers there. And this was actually the incident that happened, with the Bentley actually going a bit to the left, to be fair. To be fair, that wasn't exactly... Let me see it back how it happened. See, as the Ferrari goes on the left, the Bentley squeezes him as much as possible, with the Ferrari going sideways to the very outside of the track. That was an interesting situation that will be seen in the steward room. But altogether, that was it for tonight. Thank you so much for following the 60 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps. And I will see you all in Indianapolis on February the 1st for our 60 minutes, since the first 90 minutes will happen the week after. But from here, Cristian Romano, it was all. I hope you had a pleasant evening, as the championship still isn't updated, so I don't think I can completely know who's on top, but after the penalties and everything in between, I think for now the championship is still the same. We'll go through an effective check in the next race, but from me, Cristian Romano, it was all for tonight. I hope to see you all in the next round on the 1st, and I hope you will have also a good night. Thank you so much.